I, 26F. Almost cheated on my husband, 27M. With male best friend, 26F. My best friend, Gabe, 26M. I've known for 7 years. We're really close and also work together. I met him before I met my then boyfriend, now husband Oliver, 27M. Oliver has never liked Gabe. Oliver has previously expressed to me that he wasn't comfortable with Gabe. But at the time I didn't think anything of it. 2 years ago Oliver and I got married after college and it's been going great ever since. My other work friends, including Gabe, hang out often at each other's places and Oliver hates whenever I go over to Gabe's or when he comes to our house. We watch movies together often and have meaningful conversations that I really enjoy. Anyways, all that to say I thought everything we did was completely platonic. 2 days ago, we were sitting in his car, and the conversation got really depressing. I went to hug him and we said reassuring things to each other. It was weirdly intimate. When I leaned back, our faces were really close and we both went to kiss each other. I hesitated for a moment and almost let him do it before I pushed away. He drove me home and I felt guilty when I saw Oliver at home. I felt like shit and went to sleep immediately. Partly because I realize Oliver was right to doubt our relationship and also because I fucked up. I haven't said anything to Oliver and I don't how I would tell him. Or do I not tell him at all? I really love my husband and I value my friendship with Gabe. I'm really confused and don't know what I say to either of them. TLDR. I'm married and almost kissed my male friend. Do I tell my husband? Can't imagine why he doesn't like Gabe. You need to distance yourself from your supposed friend. Would you almost kiss a female friend and be okay with that? If your husband was in this same situation, how would you deal with it? Would you ask him to distance himself from his female best friend? If you can't handle having opposite-sex friends, then you really shouldn't have them as they will destroy your existing relationship and get you really nowhere. Friendship is important, but you made a commitment to be faithful to your spouse. It sounds like it's time to step back from this now inappropriate friendship. Your husband told you he is uncomfortable with Gabe, but you continue on spending time with him, going to his place and having in the home you share with your husband. It sounds pretty shitty. How would you feel if your husband did these things to you? If you really want to save your marriage, step back from Gabe. I can tell by the way you wrote that you still plan on being friends with Gabe and not telling your husband the full truth of what happened, so all I can do is hope he finds someone in the future who's 100% committed to him. Your husband deserves better. He is trusting you a lot too much, honestly. I tell you what would happen if you don't terminate your friendship with this guy. One day you will enter an argument with your husband about nothing really and you'll call this friend for validation slippery slope. Boundaries you need to intentionally make them. This guy is not a friend anymore. You have a guy who honestly don't respect you or your husband and wants to get in your pants. Yeah, you most definitely need to terminate clean and tell your husband because he will notice you not close with your friend anymore and he will start running scenarios in his head, so come to him and tell him and said that you telling him because you want to clearly be done with that friendship. Because he was right. Honestly, I'm reading this post and I can't help but feel gutted for Oliver. You chose to spend your life with him. You got married to him and with that you have decided to be his life partner. Having a relationship takes work and communication. Oliver did communicate to you about his feelings and his concerns about Gabe. Technically, that in itself should have made you change your behavior in this situation. You were selfish and you neglected your partner. Now obviously Oliver was right. How heartbreaking for him. I'm sure he has been anxious and on edge for ages about this Gabe dude. He might already feel insecure and crazy about his worries and yet has continued to trust you. Only for you to basically realize you were wrong all along. If you value your marriage, take a big step back and explain to Gabe that this is a red line and that your marriage is more important one that you want to keep. Learn about open communication and having hard conversations in a way that will make sure that you both are heard and validated. What would you have felt if the roles were reversed? If Oliver was spending time with a woman you didn't like and you were worried about? If Oliver dismissed your worries and your feelings only to have something almost happen between them? Tell your husband. Be a grown-up and admit to your faults. Don't say, something was uncomfortable. You'll leave him with multiple harmful scenarios in his head and he will think you cheated. Tell him the whole truth of the situation. Without honesty, changed behavior on your part and distance from Gabe, I'm sure Oliver will eventually walk out of your life. At least that's what I would do if I had a partner like you. You have a husband and man friend that you are too friendly with. Pick one and commit. If you really love your husband, stop seeing your friend. Distance yourself from him. It is obvious that he has feelings for you and your husband tried to warn you about him. I'm going to go with, this is probably not about Gabe at all, but your general lack of respect for your husband's boundaries. He told you he's uncomfortable with Gabe. What did you do with that information? You and your husband never resolved the Gabe situation. I have male friends and if my partner wasn't okay with it, it's probably not a very good fit for me. At the same time I'd also never do anything and put myself in such situations that can be questionable. So I think the dynamic you have going on there is probably deeper than you explained. Even if you distance from Gabe, I think it's just a matter of time when another Gabe moment happens. You need to rethink your emotions, boundaries, and how you want to proceed. You cannot have a healthy, trusting marriage so long as Gabe is in your life. At least not the way he has been. Those meaningful conversations and moments are actually likely an emotional affair that didn't recognize. You need to be honest with your husband. Admit he was right. And tell him that, going forward, you will distance yourself from Gabe as much as he needs you to because you understand how damaging this is. If you aren't willing to do what your husband needs to work past this, then you aren't committed enough to him and need to set him free to find someone who would choose him above all others. While you didn't kiss him, you did put yourself in an unnecessary situation. I'm all for being there for friends, but I never got the urge to kiss them. So, there is something wrong with your marriage and its limits. You need to tell your husband. It'll hurt the both of you. But no healing will begin until you admit to yourself and to him that you weren't as aware as you should have been about your friendship. And Gabe is to be reduced to an acquaintance or nothing at all. He's a risk to your marriage. Look for new jobs. And keep things professional until then. I've never read it, but Not Just Friends. Rebuilding Trust and Recovering Your Sanity After Infidelity seems to be a book you and your husband could read together. It may help your relationship going forward. If you really love your husband, there should be no doubt in your mind as to what to do about Gabe. Staying friends should no longer be an option. What you have to realize is that you crossed the cheating line with Gabe a long time ago. You've been having an emotional affair. You have put Gabe and that friendship above the happiness and comfort of your own husband. You dismiss Oliver's valid concerns because you cared more about Gabe. You go to Gabe for the meaningful conversations you should be having with your husband. You were putting your time and energy into Gabe rather than into your marriage. Physically cheating is just the final realization of what you've been doing all along. Don't mistake not kissing him as not cheating. You have been, and you should recognize and deal with it accordingly. You need to tell your husband. Apologize to him. And let him decide the boundaries he's comfortable with. If he's comfortable with your friendship with Gabe. You said yourself, he has expressed for a long time that he was uncomfortable with your relationship. And you chose to place your relationship with Gabe above your husband's feelings. And now you've confirmed all of his worries. And want to keep ignoring your husband's concerns? If you continue that friendship, you're absolutely disrespecting your husband and marriage. And when he eventually finds out, or something else happens, the pain will be that much worse. If you keep that friendship, you are a fool. If you like your marriage, that is. That's not a friendship. If you both went in for the kiss, it sounds like you did cheat, and you keeping this guy in your life and telling your husband he's wrong about him shows your lack of care. About this, tell him, I also doubt you haven't been emotionally cheating. Gabe cannot be considered a friend anymore. He has crossed over to love interest now. By your admission to finding him attractive and wanting to kiss him, you will find this genie very hard to push back into the bottle. Better cut Gabe down low on the interaction list, or it will happen again. And you might make a different decision next time. A. Tell him as soon as you get up again. B. Cut contact with the other guy ASAP. C. Therapy to find out why you almost cheated. Well, no shit. Your husband was right about a sleazy dude's intentions. Cut Gabe off. And tell your husband that he was right. Leave your husband. Go to Gabe. That way you can be with the one you really love and away from the one you have no respect for. Your H deserves a chance at getting a real wife. You're a fraud.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Aircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.